Hello, my name is Chris Lassard. Most people know me as a Boopasaurus, and you might know me as someone who's been around the TFT community just a little bit. I've been doing some casting since literally the beginning, and I also hosted a couple shows. And yeah, I'm happy to be here and talk about TFT and how important it is to me, and I think everyone else as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you here. If I'm not mistaken, you're going to be casting this weekend for this very tournament. What's it like, sort of like shifting gears between, casting like a regionals, casting something that's a Riot-sponsored event, and then jumping back into the grassroots?
I think it's awesome. I think one of the big things that a lot of people think about casters once they hit a certain level, right, is that they never have to do the level before it again, right? But the thing is this grassroots stuff is fun. It is fun for everybody. It is fun for me, and I think it should be really fun for someone to come in and try their best, try some new things, adjust some things, right? Work with the up and coming talent, because I think one other really cool thing about this is not just the players and the casters, but in general, we're onboarding so many new people by exposing audiences to this that might not be aware of some of the already established audiences, right? So you have to go back on grassroots. Something I always say to kind of wrap this up is you can't build a community from the top down, right? If you imagine a pyramid, if you start at the point, it'll just fall over. And these grassroots events, not just for TFT, but for esports, is the foundation. So it doesn't matter where I came from or where I casted before. Ultimately, it's a great way to meet new talent, see what's going on in this space, and see what's about to come up too. It's only going to benefit me. You know what I mean? It's only going to benefit you, really, no matter where you are in your career, if you make it that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I could actually add something onto that I think is moderately important here. It's also fun for us. We appreciate it too, right? Something that a lot of us say is, if we're going to, the new guard is going to have to come at some point, right? And they better be better than us, right? And anything that I can do to make sure that happens is, I think, good for the community and everyone around it, right? Everyone needs to hit their peak, because a rising tide lifts all ships, and it just makes everything better.
Do you see the sort of casting world and co-streaming world eventually merging or coexisting, or what does the future of casting look like for you in TFT?
Okay, you came with some heater questions.
That's a pretty big one.
So yeah, that's one I can make I think an entire episode of something on. To be honest with you, I think the biggest thing in terms of co-streaming and casting that is awesome, right, is that it is increased accessibility towards the content, right? However, I think what's happening is certain people who are coming into esports at different times are used to certain styles of how to digest sports content, for example, right? The old guard, and I would consider myself part of that. I'm literally about to turn 34 this week, so I'm feeling it. When you get hurt, you stay hurt. At this age, but my consumption of esports has always been kind of informed by my consumption of sports, or flesh sports, as I like to say, right? For this generation, they are kind of the first iteration of esports consumers that have had a choice in how to consume this kind of content, right? And I love that. Unfortunately, just I think a lot of new things going on right now, there are still some speed bumps, and honestly, grassy knolls probably, that we need to, go up and stuff, and overcome. But ultimately, we have to go through these issues in order to find out how these two things can collaborate and actually expand, rather than kind of feel like it's making both things potentially smaller, if that makes sense, right? Co-streaming is great, especially for a game like TFT. I think specifically for TFT is one of the better arguments for co-streaming just in general. It's a streamer-based game, always has been, always will be, right? And, forcing something that audience doesn't necessarily want, right? We also have to understand that co-streaming right now is a really great way for you as a fan of a specific person and a specific team to go there and hear literally nothing bad about the people that you like and stuff like that. And that's okay. That doesn't make them bad esports audience members or something like that, right? Would I love for them to kind of hear, some other aspects and point of views? Yeah, that's also going to, I think, expand their world too. But ultimately, I can't fault them for liking what they like, right? So I think that's kind of the question that we all have to answer is, it's got to be a place of cohabitation.
If somebody is out there watching and they're like, casting seems fun, it seems like something I'd want to do, what is some advice you could give them, or a direction you could point them to start their casting journey?
I think you just said it at the end. Just start. And I know that's like really hard to do. A lot of people think that starting casting requires other people, right? And it absolutely does not. Yeah, you're gonna need to find that at first, but if you're just interested in stuff, there are some really great resources out there to kind of just try, right? Number one, there are Discords for like literally every title that you can think of that have talent aspects of it. And, you could go towards a regular Discord and you can message a mod and see, hey, like, is this like a thing that, you're interested in? Something else that I've seen a lot of people do is like for tier 2, tier 3 esports to like be like, hey, I love your team, I like a couple of your players, let me cast your games for you, right? I don't like working for free, but if this is like one of your first 5 gigs, I think that's definitely like a really great way to dip your foot in. Once you kind of decide you want to do this, then stop working for free. But up until that point, as you're getting experience, like that's the type of stuff that like low stakes, you're not taking from anybody, right? That it's literally for the community, and what you're getting out of it is valuable enough for you, which is that experience and knowing if you like casting or not, right? Because a lot of people do it and realize it's totally different than what they expect, right? And the next step after that would be to practice on your own, right? A very popular thing with games is to watch something on mute and in your head, think about what the caster should be saying, find your favorite caster, and then play it again unmuted and see if you match what the caster is saying, right? And then now you can kind of see if you have, a good handle on the content, for example, right? But ultimately, it really is just about starting, right? That's going to get you ahead of everyone else who's just thinking about it. Right. And I got to tell you that that's a huge deal, especially in esports, because there seems to be a misconception that like you have to be incredibly like you have to come from a certain place in order to be successful in esports. Right. Sure. And ultimately, that's not true. Some people do come in with advantages, but I got to tell you, one thing that, gamers and I think people who are attracted to this space kind of, struggle with is starting. Right. So if you're just already there, you come to me and and you're like, hey, Chris, or Boop, no one calls me Chris. Hey, Boop, like, hey, how do I get started? I can be like, hey, like, do you have this, this, and this? And you'll be like, yeah, I do. And I can give you comments. I can give you feedback or find you a way to get to that point too. So that would be the next step is, try it out, see if you like it. If you really do, then, message people on Discord and Twitter. Not everyone's going to message you back. Some people might, some people might be a little, might ghost you, and some people might respond in a way that isn't your favorite, but ultimately being told no is the worst thing that's going to happen, and someone will say yes. We love doing this stuff. There's a huge network of casters that is all about mentorship and making sure that the next generation knows that yes, it's going to be tough, like you said, but it's going to be ready. Right. And we're really excited to help you do that. So you can either talk to me, you can find me on Twitter, at Boopasaurus Rex. We're going to talk about that in a second, I know, but and a lot of other people. And if we're not going to be a good match, then I'll find one for you as well. So reach out, do your thing, and just start. Don't be afraid. You just got to go get it.
Completely agree. Finally, as you already know, shout yourself out, or are there any other shout outs, last thoughts, ideas, things that you want to share before we conclude?
You can find me on Twitter. It's the only one I really use, at Boopasaurus Rex. And I'm excited to be casting this tournament here, and I'll be doing some other casting and hopefully some content in the future, and I'll make sure to let everyone know about it. But if you want to hit me up, then Twitter is absolutely the best way to do it. So at Boopasaurus Rex, especially if you're trying to get into casting or just having just simple questions about it, I'd be happy